Hello EVE players, Tiger Extreme here. In this EVE Online tutorial we're going to talk about mission running and making some serious money. Mission running next to mining is probably one of the most done activities in the game because it's it's relatively easy money compared to the effort. You can do it pretty quickly, you can do it with relatively low skills. So let's get into the theory behind mission running before we do anything practical like shooting stuff. The first thing you need to understand about mission running is that it's closely tied in with what is known as a standing mechanic. The standing mechanics in EVE Online are a manner of indicating what your relationship is with several NPC entities in the game, and also with player entities in the game, such as alliances and player corporations. But in this case it's just for the NPC corporations and factions. And understanding how the faction mechanics work is really a great benefit. In EVE Online there are three major standing mechanics that influence mission running. Firstly, we have factional standing, we have corporation standing, and we have personal standing towards a mission agent, for example. Faction standing influences what NPC corporations are available to you, for what corporations you can run missions for. So that's already very important. If you don't have the standing required to talk to one of the corporations, then you won't be able to run any missions at all, so that's important. Then we have the corporate standing, which influences what agents are available within an NPC corporation. And it also influences, for example, the tax percentage on refining stuff in a station. If you remember the tutorial I did on mining and refining, you find that you have a tax whenever you want to refine something. By increasing your standing with a certain corporation that owns a station, you can decrease the amount of tax you pay for refining down to a point where you don't pay tax at all. And then you have a personal standing towards each individual agent, and that used to do something in the game, but at the moment I don't think it really does anything. So that's the three basic forms of standing that you have to be familiar with before we start. NPC standing of any kind can be raised or lowered by respectively helping or hindering a faction or a corporation. You can run missions for all factions except for the Jovi, which are still unavailable at this time. They're kind of a mystery race, which no one has any contact with, and they secluded themselves. So while they are technically a part of the game, you can't interact with them in any way. Each Empire faction has one ally, and the other two are considered enemies of the faction. And the pirate factions, on top of that, are enemies to everyone. For example, running missions for the Galante faction will increase your standing with Galante, obviously, but it will decrease standing with Caldari, because those two are enemies of each other. It will also decrease standing with the Minmatar and whatever faction you happen to be shooting at in the mission. So for any faction mission that you're doing, you will lose standing with at least 3 factions. And this is important because if you're standing with any of the Empire factions, which are the legal factions, if any of those factions falls below minus 5.0, that will mean that you are wanted by that Empire's navy. And once you enter their space, so a space that is controlled by one of the Empire factions that you have bad standing with, it means that they will start shooting you, and if you're, unlucky, you might not survive it. Unless you want a high pirate standing, it's generally advised to only run missions for Empire factions that involve attacking pirate factions. Since pirate factions don't actually have any navies that can shoot you, the only downside to fighting the pirate factions is that you will get a dramatically low negative standing with all the pirate factions in the game. The standing level that you have and the standing level that you can gain from doing missions can be influenced by training the relevant skills. Like with anything else in EVE Online, there are skills specifically catered for this purpose. If you go into your character sheet and you go down to the social tab, right here, you'll find a number of skills that influence your relationship with NPCs and their factions, and in some cases even Concord itself. The most prominent skills that you will need at the start are social, which gives you a 5% bonus to the level of NPC agents, corporations and faction standing. So each time you get new standing, you get a standing increase from doing a mission or whatever, that standing increase is again increased by 5%. So the total increase gets, bigger. So training this to level 5 is very highly recommended. Then we have the connections skill, which basically does the same, only it does it to your existing standing. So if you are if you have a certain standing with a corporation or a faction, then this skill will increase that existing standing by 4% per skill level, which is significant. And if we go into my standings tab right here, where we can see all the standings that we have with different entities in the game, we can see how the connections influences the standing level significantly. I have connections trained to level 5, and my highest standing with, let me see how this works again, corporations or factions even. My current standing with Caldari State is 3.4 or 3.04, but this is only the case because I have connections trained to 5. My original standing without the skill would be 1.31. So that's pretty much doubled, so that's a pretty significant change, and it's therefore the connection skill is highly recommended to train as well, even if you're not running any missions or whatever, because standing is useful in all kinds of different areas of the game. Lastly, we have the diplomacy skill, which is very handy for situations where you have a bad standing towards a certain corporation or faction. Say you have been running missions for Galante for a while, and then you suddenly decide that you want to switch over to Caldari, where lo and behold you have a negative standing. This skill will ensure that that negative standing gets increased a little bit, so that you don't have to work as hard to get back to 0. I can show you an example of this, because I have probably plenty of corporations and individuals that don't like me very much. For example, all of the pirate factions don't really like me. The Blood Raider Covenant has a standing towards me of minus 4.49, but the original standing towards me is much lower, namely minus 8.11. Because I have diplomacy trained at level 5, that negative standing is increased quite significantly, which makes it easier to get it back to 0 and then get access to the better agents. So let's move on from this standing crap and move on to actually finding an agent. To find a mission agent in EVE Online, you go to your menu right above your character picture. Go into the business tab or folder or whatever you want to call it, and you click on the agent finder. That's what you need. You can start by picking a faction, the faction that you want to run missions for. You can pick anyone you like, but It's like I said, it's generally recommended that you run missions for a Empire faction instead of a Pirate faction or whatever. And the Empire factions are the Omar Empire, Kaldari State, Galante Federation, and the Minmatar Republic. So pick one of those as you see fit. I don't know. You can base it on what ships maybe you want to save up for or whatever. I'm currently located in Galante space, so I'm going to run missions for the Galante Federation. If you want, you can run missions for a select, specific corporation that belongs to the Galante Federation. You don't have to, because it really doesn't influence that much. Only in certain situations you might find yourself wanting to run missions for a specific corporation. In my case, since I live in a station that has Federal Intelligence Office, I want to run missions for the station that I live in. So I'm going to find the Federal Intelligence Office, run missions for them. Next up, agents come in various different types. The most common ones are the distribution one. Distribution type mostly consists of courier missions, which basically means that you take some goods from point A to point B. The next one is mining, which is pretty obvious. You go out into some mission mine belt, mission asteroid belt, and you mine whatever is there and blah blah blah. And the security division, which is the type of missions that most people run, because they yield the most amount of money. Security missions are basically pure combat. You get sent out to some spot in a solar system, told to kill absolutely everything and return to your agent. Since these are most profitable, we're gonna find one of the agents that we can run for security. A locator agent, by the way, is an agent that you can ask to track down a player. If you want to know where a specific player is hiding in what solar system, you can ask an agent to locate the player for you. But only certain agents have that ability, so that's why the little box is here. If you want, you can select a region. If you know what region you're living in, which you can see right up here, you can make sure that you never go too far away from home. I live in Solitude, so I'm gonna keep setting this to Solitude. If you really want to be specific, you can set a solar system, but I wouldn't really recommend it. And you can make sure that you only show agents that are located in high sec or low sec, null sec, or if it doesn't matter, then you can set it to any. If you only want to see agents that are available to you, then you can click this little checkbox here, so that you don't see any agents that are not available to you because you don't have enough standing or whatever. I'm going to keep that off. And lastly, on top here, you can select the agent level that you want to find. When you're just starting out, you'll probably, most definitely won't have access to level 2, 3, 4 or 5. So you'll have to do with level 1 agents. And in my case, I only found 2 level 1 agents nearby. So that's, easy choice really. This one's closer, so that's what we're gonna set my destination to. You have to set a destination because you have to, you can only accept missions from the station where the agent is residing. So in all this glorious spaceship age, we can't accept missions from the other side of the galaxy, apparently. Higher level agents become available as your standing with their corporation increases. For example, the level 1 missions will always be available, no matter how bad your standing is with that corporation. You'll always have some way of trying to get that standing back up again. So level 1 agents are always available. Level 2 agents require a corporation standing of 1.0 or higher. All the missions get much more difficult to complete with each level and will require much bigger ships and much bigger weapons to run them properly. But in return the rewards are of course much greater. So it's definitely worthwhile to stick with one corporation to run missions for and try to get into the level 4 missions.
Docking permission requested. Docking request accepted.
Alright, now that we're finally in the right station, we can look up the agent that we are here to see. Open up the Agents tab on the right side here and select one of the agents that you'd like to run a mission for. I like to run them for security because I'm in a combat oriented ship at the moment. So we're gonna start a conversation with her. In this window you'll get to see all the information that you need to decide if you want to accept the mission or not. This is your the little backstory to the mission. It also contains your objective. This is the location of your agent, of course. Your standing towards the agent, title of the mission, so you can look it up on the internet or whatever. And on this side is some more useful information. Your objective. I need to bring back cargo containers and stuff. This is the location I need to drop it off in. This is a secondary objective, or well, the primary objective actually. I need to destroy the warehouse and retrieve the containers mentioned above. This is the location I need to go in, so I can set it as my destination so I can easily find it. Ship restrictions often are not a problem, but most missions only permit certain ship classes, so you don't start doing simple missions with a Titan or whatever. Of course the rewards are mentioned. For this particular mission, because it's a level 1 mission, I will get 44,000 ISK and 78 loyalty points. And if I can do the mission in 1 hour and 46 minutes, I'm sorry, that's the downside of being Dutch, I always screw that up. 1 hour and 46 minutes, I get an additional 63,000 ISK. That's the conditions of the mission, and you can choose to accept it or to decline it or to delay it. On top of that, you can also see in this little objective window what faction you will be fighting. This little icon here will represent the faction that you're fighting. In this case, I'm fighting the Serpentist. Like I said before, if you get a mission where you need to fight Empire factions such as Amarr, Kaldari, Galante or Minmatar, I would advise you to refuse the mission, because it can really screw up your standing if you do, kill Empire faction ships. But that's your decision and your prerogative, as they call that. So I'm gonna basically run you through this mission pretty quickly. Since I'm pretty skilled at doing this kind of stuff, I think it will be pretty easy. So we're gonna accept the mission, close the window, undock. And we need to go to Fekodi. So we're gonna jump there.
Warp drive active.
And in the meantime I'm gonna reorder my weapons a little bit because they got screwed up in the last tutorial. I don't really use this ship all that much anymore. I have bigger and, more badass ships to do my killing for me these days. Let me see what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna load these weapons with my EMP ammo. So that I'm completely ready when I get there. And of course, you can do these missions in other types of ships. If you do a level 1 mission and you're just starting out in EVE Online, then you'll probably be running these in a frigate or maybe in a destroyer, and that's perfectly fine. A frigate can take care of these missions just as well as my overly pimped Hurricane can. So don't be put off by that. It might take you a little longer than me and my Hurricane, because I'll just blast everything to hell with this ship probably. But yeah, frigates and destroyers are more than welcome on level 1 missions, as long as you get a decent fit and decent weapons for them. Okay, agent missions, encounter, warp to location, or you can go to your agent missions little drop down menu here and warp to location that way. And when we land, I'm not sure if we're gonna find an acceleration gate or not. We might not. An acceleration gate is basically just a portal or a gateway into the mission area that only select certain ships can use. And certain missions have them and certain missions don't. And this one does have one. So this means that you are warped into the mission at a fixed position. If a mission doesn't have a gate like this, then you can warp into the mission at any distance. So that's kind of the difference. In practice, it really doesn't matter all that much. It might matter if you have if you're running level 4 missions. Sometimes it comes in handy. But most of the time you'll encounter an acceleration gate. Alright, so now we're in a mission area, and all these little red crosses are our enemies. I'm gonna switch over to my mission overview. Doesn't really change that much, but still. Number 1 tip is always to keep moving unless you have a reason not to. It makes you harder to hit. And then just get into your weapon's optimal range, which is displayed in this little pop-up thingy here. My optimal range is within 13 kilometers, so I'm just gonna start blasting these guys. Control plus clicking on a target starts locking it, by the way. Might be useful to know. And I think I can start... Hell, I don't even have to fire my gun. I might have to be able to do this with just drones. Let's see how that works. Launch the drones, damn it. Whoa, massive lag. Alright, now my drones are out and are starting to attack the pirates. Oh, Jesus Christ, they're just slaughtering them. Okay, any kind of lag or stuttering you see on the screen right now is due to the Rubicon deployment yesterday. I've had this problem since the deployment and it hasn't been fixed yet, so nothing I can do about that, I'm afraid. So yeah, it's basically a matter of, destroying whatever you can find and killing all the red crosses until nothing remains. Which my drones are more than amply doing at the moment. In fact, my drones can do a better job than I can with my guns at this point. Which is always fun, of course. Alright, now everything is destroyed, but we had to find some containers, if I'm not mistaken. So find the warehouse. Sometimes it's on your overview, and other times you have to find it. Maybe if your overview doesn't show it for some reason. I have multiple overviews right here, so I can switch to one and find it. I'm gonna approach it, and we're gonna have to blow it up. And loot the containers and go back to the agent, basically. And this is something where my guns do work, I'm pretty sure. So lock the thing and blast it to hell. Oh, I didn't even get a second shot off. That's just bad. Alright. And now we're gonna make our way over to the cargo containers that just dropped. Because that contains the stuff that we need to bring back to our agent. Gonna give the engine a little more power. On the overview, by the way, you'll see that all these wrecks that are dropped from the guys that we killed. And if you want to get the most out of a mission in terms of money and stuff, you can choose to loot those wrecks, so to open them and to see what's inside and take that home with you. And you can even salvage them if you want to get the broken parts and stuff that you can sell on the market as well. It's all extra money that you can earn. So this is all kind of junk. This is not the container I'm looking for. This is the container I'm looking for. 15 cargo containers. So I'm dragging that into my cargo hold, and that completes the mission, so I'm heading back to where we came from.
Warp drive active.
So yeah, if you want, you can loot the wrecks and salvage the wrecks and bring all that stuff to a station and sell it. It's all extra money for you. It does take a little bit more time, so that's up to you if you want to spend your time that way. You can just as easily go back to station, accept another mission, and run another mission for the same time. Alright, we're back in the station where we started with our agent. And all that's left really to do is just to start a conversation and hit complete the mission. And at this point you can request another mission and keep going all day if you want. If you look at your wallet, and you'll get a glimpse at my huge fortune at this point, you'll see that the reward and the bonus time reward are neatly added to your total balance, including any of the pirate bounties that you may have collected. Not every mission pirate has bounties on them. Some do, some don't. If you happen to come across pirates with bounties on them, then they will be added to this to your total income. So yeah, that's basically the gist of running missions. The entire deal with standings and finding agents, it's all very complicated, I know. I would like to recommend that you just give it a try one time. Maybe read up a little bit about it. And yeah, just find an agent, start running missions, and stuff will become clear to you in time. That's the case with most of the things in this game. The more you do it, the more it makes sense to you. Yeah, for level 1 missions the payout may not seem like much, considering that some ships cost hundreds of millions of ISK. But once you get to level 4 missions, then the total bounties and the total mission rewards, the bonus rewards, and all the loot value and stuff can total in the tens of millions of ISK per mission. So that's definitely worth your time. and something to work towards. I hope this tutorial helped you. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. If you have any suggestions for new tutorials on EVE Online, then please ask them, suggest them. I'm always open to suggestions. There are a lot of things in EVE Online that I have not covered yet. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.